Hello, hello. Hope you can hear me okay. This is me celebrating 4 years of being a monk. Hello, hello. Hope you can hear me okay. This is me celebrating 4 years of being a monk. Yeah, let's turn off the background. Let's see. It's a bit different with where is this stupid background? Yeah. I want to turn off the background. Is det bara ligg? Nej. Nej. This was fun. This is boring. Yeet. Hello, Terry.
Hello, my brother. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to be seen at my age, my friend. Good to be seen.
Oh, you look shiny.
You know, I used to work in the funeral business, and one of the sayings that they had all the time. It's better to be seen than viewed.
I love that.
There's something to that.
Yeah, most definitely.
So how are you? 4 years, my friend. 4 years.
4 years being a monk, yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
So how has that been for you?
At times it is a bit frustrating, to be honest. Women, the female is my favorite form of all creations. So, it's but I guess that's part of it, to see that, oh, this is a beautiful girl, a beautiful woman, and I can just observe. I think that has been good practice, really. And it does, it makes you need to channel your energies in other ways. And that has been
True.
So yeah, and it wasn't really what I had planned for my life, to be honest, but it's been really good. So what are you up to now?
Perhaps the most spiritual things just all of a sudden happen. My Native American journey, I was born and raised to believe I was fourth generation Irish American white boy. So I never knew my mother's origins. She used to just say, my family's it's like a spaghetti works, we don't grab onto anything. Well, they said that because they did not want to identify as Indians and be segregated against. And then when the siblings grew into adulthood, they were told, about their family heritage, Chickamauga Cherokee, and then they could either go down the Red Road or continue on Main Street. It was up to them. Well, our parents died before that happened, and that complicated things because the only two people other than my mom and dad was my mom's family. They were all gone when my mom died. And my paternal grandfather and grandmother, well, grandmother had already passed, so it was only grandfather left. And he was in an old folks home, and my brother was visiting him, and he threw out a question. Do your parents ever tell you kids you were Indians? Now, to know my brother, he is a Budweiser drinking, NASCAR ball cap kind of guy. Okay. It threw him for a loop, and which I thought was hilarious. Yeah. And so grandfather told him the story of mom and dad before they were married, coming to his parents and saying, okay, here's the background. Are you okay with this? And are you okay with keeping it a secret? Because we don't want anybody to know. And my paternal grandparents are just like I am. I'm straight from their blood. You got red blood in you, then that's it. Okay. There is no anything else. And so for all those years, they did keep it a secret. So at 46 years old, I became a Native American. As soon as I found out that was the correct road for me. And my brother said, you know what, I hope you're okay with this, but I like being a redneck, and that's where I'm going to stay. It's completely up to you. That's fine. And he says, but I got to tell you, as soon as I found out, I knew you were going to choose the Native American path. And I asked him why. And he says, well, back when we were kids, you used to see people's faces in rocks and trees and all those kinds of things. White people don't see that stuff, right? No. And mom told us, don't tell anybody. They'll think you're crazy and put you in a hospital. So I honored that all my life and eventually forgot about it. And so that's my background, So now I am a tribal elder and completely attached to the Red Road Way to Life and World Peace and all of that. That's how we got connected through UNACCC. And my dear brother, Rajat, him and I have become very, very close. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. And how did you come to become a monk? You just don't wake up and go, you know what, I'm going to be a monk today.
No, it was a long journey. I know I was in 2018, I left my job and I left my marriage and sort of started on a more spiritual road. And I was going to work with music and I was going to work with healing and do what I hadn't done in all the years I worked as a social worker. And then there was something that's said to me 4 years ago. It's like it's been a gradual thing. I was a pilgrim. How I felt it. I was walking the pilgrim path, and I tended to hit the pilgrim path when I was traveling. And then it wasn't like this voice from God. It wasn't anything like that. It was just this conviction that, okay, this, for a while, you got to take a pause from the strongest urge that us humans have. You need to step away. You need to reflect upon life and spirituality and all that, and go within. And so that I did. I became a monk, started traveling, or kept on traveling, and what has led me to, and that has been the gift of being a monk is the meetings. You know, when you meet another human being and that is not part of what's on the table, you can truly connect with them on a different level. It's like meeting my dog. You know, it's the same. You just connect, and it's just two sentient beings meeting without all the interference. So I guess that's yeah, but it's been fascinating and really. So we have some new people joining here. Lani, she is an author, and she just released an anthology book called Rattled Awake. It's very fascinating book. People talking about moments like you meeting your Native American heritage and me meeting becoming a monk. You know, those yeah. And also Thomas is there. So feel free to chime in if you would like. Let me see if we can change the view a bit. I'm not used. I always used my phone for Zoom. I'm not used to using this one. Let's see if we can figure it out.
You're doing good with this.
I used to be.
You know, one of the teachings that I received is, you know, we're emotional units, and if we were to learn our entire life's journey up front, we'd be nutcases, you know. And the journey is always changing because we are able to make independent decisions at any point in time, you know. And that's always stuck with me. You know, it's like, okay, there's a door showing up. Do you open it or do you walk around? You know, the thing is, and I teach this to my mentees, the thing is, if you decide to open the door disappears. There is no going back because that's where you are and that's where you are. And it's not meant to be scary. It's just you've made a conscious decision to be there. Now you're there, right? Now you get to make another conscious decision to further yourself and your journey by being there. So that was a great teaching. Yeah,
I like that. It's so very true, you know, because doors are always opening ahead of us and they're closing behind us. and often we don't see them because we are either in the future or in our histories, instead of just being here right now and seeing opportunities. And that is also like being I'm not schizophrenic. One of the characteristics of schizophrenia in the classical psychiatric understanding is that you hear voices. I think that's stupid, because some people hear voices and they are, in my understanding, they do come from something higher. But anyhow, I don't hear voices, but I have this tiny, still nagging, it snaps me in the back of the head if I don't listen. And it sometimes it gets really loud. I think that was like, I used to live in a cult. I lived in a cult for a year, and I kept trying to perceive them as being benevolent. I kept trying to see that, okay, they are truly, they want the best for people. And after a while, I understood that, well, they are in it for the money. Money and power for the founder and his quite young wife. That was the whole point of the cult. So on Monday there will be an article in a Swedish newspaper. It was first in a series of 3, and that would be. I tried telling them. I'm not very fond of preaching myself, though I am a monk and a minister and all that. But I try telling you got to treat people with respect. You gotta. It's not as if you can just waltz over them and say that you gotta believe this. And that's what I like about what you just said. It's not about going out like being a guru or this is my understanding. You gotta believe what I'm saying. I can't stand it. I like the way Jesus taught. Through actions, through parables, through stories, and then it's all up to us. It's up to us to understand and put them in our framework. But tell me, when did you get your name Earthwind? Was that when you were 14?
Shortly after I found out who I was, I was divorced and living with a lovely lady. And about a week before Christmas Eve, back in 2009, I was sitting up in bed on Sunday morning. Both of us were reading the paper, and she was drinking her wine or tea, and I was having my coffee. And a vision came out of the wall. This massive horn and a panel of ivy leaves that covered my whole vision. And in the middle of that hole came out all these little lights, and they just came out and went flop right in front of me, right? And that only lasted split second, and it was gone. And I started to tell my girlfriend, I went, I don't know what this is yet. Let me figure this out. So I'm a very bad artist, and that's no ego there. I'm very bad. And so I thought this is significant because it just would not go away in my mind. So I drew it, and I was almost done with it. And my girlfriend walked up and says, "What are you doing?" And I says, "Well, here's what happened Sunday morning. This thing popped up out of the wall, and I don't know what it is, why it is, or anything." And she just looked at me, white girl, right? Main streeter. She just looked at me and went, and walked out of the room. Not a word. Well, a few days later, there's a Native American woman and her mother. We invited over for Christmas Eve dinner. And the woman is business partners with a person, and they have a business where they do colonic cleaning.
Mm.
And every month for years, every month on the new moon, they host a drumming circle. And that night that she was at our place, she was explaining what goes on in the drumming circle. Some people hear extra drums or instruments, and nobody else does, or somebody sees dancing shadows as they're doing it or whatever. Nobody else does. It's individual.
Mm.
But last Saturday night, now Sunday is when I saw this. Last Saturday night, we had a visitor, a wonderful guest from Wisconsin, and she joined she came to the Twin Cities in Minneapolis to do some teachings, but she joined our drumming circle, and we're all drumming and really getting into it. And all of a sudden, this massive horn appeared over the top of our circle.
Mm-hmm.
And started making all kinds of racket and stuff. And all of us stopped within a few seconds, because this is the first time all of us see and heard something. And the person's name is Jackie Redwoman. Jackie says, mark this time, mark this place. Something significant just happened in the universe.
Mm.
So, she's telling me this story. And as she's doing that, I said, can you describe this horn? Oh, yeah. She starts describing my horn. And I go, hold up a second. I want to show you something. I go and get my drawing book. And I said, does it look like this? That's it. What do you know about it? And I said, I don't know anything about it either. Here's what happened. And she says, you got to talk to Jackie Redwoman, because this is very important. And so a couple of weeks later, I was talking to her. And in the interim, my tribe decided, because I traveled the world and for world peace, Earthwind would protect me anywhere I went. My Chickamauga name is Gado Onule, which is his breath across the earth.
Mm.
And that's where Earthwind came from. And that's where my spiritual journey began, was with this Jackie Redwoman at her house when she gave me my spirit name. And this spirit name is only to be given once forever.
Mm.
And it's a very special one. And it's very convoluted to try and say it. So I will just skip that part. But that's where my journey began. So I went from a white corporate guy, unemployed in my 50s, to this Native American elder overnight. It's quite an interesting bit of a year. And that was, 12 years ago now.
What a transition.
Yeah, literally overnight, if you really want to think about it that way.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I'm writing some books on it.
Uh-huh. You've written some, are you writing or have written?
Well, I have 2 of 13. 13 is a lucky number in the Native American culture. I'm writing 13 books that I will then put together as a biography of my travels as they come. Yeah.
Are you connected with Lonnie? Lonnie Ray?
I don't think so.
Then you
Not yet, but some things are destined, aren't they?
You should connect with Lonnie.
I mean,
right.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us about yourself, Lonnie, please.
I'm delighted. Thank you, honey. I adore you. Happy celebration, celebrating you. Our meeting was very divine and special and continues to be. So my passion is story development. And so that's the 100-foot view over what someone's idea is, and then creating content around with a strategy in mind, so that it's really readable, consumable, and creative nonfiction is my specialty. I have worked as a ghostwriter, but lately I've worked in helping other people to get their story on paper, because they often get stuck getting started, or they tell too much and they don't know where to stop and how to really succinctify their message. Even a memoir needs to have a universal message so that it's compelling to more people than, like, the guy I'm working on. He's 85 and spent 30 plus years in the Coast Guard, and it could easily be a military book. but we're not going to do that. It's going to have the message of how no matter what happened to Captain John, no matter how bad it was, it ended up being good.
Hmm.
And this is a more universal application. So memoirs definitely need to have a message, and I love helping people to find out what that is. So I also work in publishing. I help people to get to the front door, if you will, or even become a bestseller if they want. But I'm a strategist, a marketing copywriter. So really, I not your average. Let me just tell your story. I really want it to make sense to serve you, whatever your big picture is. So begin with the end in mind, and work backwards, so that it is compelling storytelling.
You were just part of a bestseller. How yeah, Rattled Awake.
Yes.
And that was a fascinating read. But
Thank you.
Please tell us about your dumbass book. I find
My dumbass book.
Yeah.
Hold on for the comic values, just so you understand.
Mm.
I do love saying that, though. My dumbass podcast, my dumbass book. Here's why. So this is the result of me being the poster child of being far too gullible, looking for the good in everybody and overlooking the bad. And what I've since learned is that if you wear rose-colored glasses, you miss the red flags. And so this is not a book about narcissism or toxic people. It's about common traits that people display. And it's good to recognize those before you invite them into your home or a foxhole, as I put it in the book. I originally wrote the book for two reasons. This was information that can change a life. And I wanted it to be like a field guide for those all ages, really, but I had the kids, young adults in mind at first. And so I just made it I made it a book full of pictograms with all my pithy one-liners. I'm kind of famous for that, tagline queen here. But then the audience, the ones that would buy the book for young adults, said, we need to see you in this. Where's your stories? How did you come to know this? And so I went back and recreated the book so that it would be full of stories that show basically how much I've been a dumbass and learn from me. So, and I said that my whole life, please, dear God, make all this chaos make sense so that I can come back with holding a lantern and hopefully laughing and say, hey, look, I figured this out. Here's a shortcut, because I like the zip line to the finish line. How about you? And that way you don't have to mumble, stumble, and fumble through life. You can actually, figure stuff out quickly and confidently make decisions in your favor. So the other part that I wrote it for were the prepper mindset, those who are realizing the writing's on the wall about what's going on in the world. And they have a giving heart and they'll probably want to help just about everybody because that's what they do. They're trying to tell people, hey, look at the ring and the triangle, like I did with my chapter in Rattled Awake. And really one of the biggest things that we can do, and we all know this, whether you're in business or not, we know that the quality of our life depends on the people we surround ourselves with. And yeah, it can be really good or really bad. So why not make decisions in your favor? And there's so much conversation about how that's judgmental. And I'm like, actually, it's not. It's using good judgment. And good judgment often comes from some bad judgment. And just learn from me. I've been around the block more than a few times. And that way you can make decisions that make sense for you. And you can, I say, dud, stud, friend, or foe. Who gets to stay? Who has got to go? Because not everybody's going to have your back, Jack. So there you go. And then the Rattled Awake chapter. So Rattled Awake was an aha that happened. I really wanted to feature the stories of people that had a shocking moment and a realization and a change of perspective based on new information. And over the last 5 years, what's the single most significant event that shook you? What happened? What happened? And what did you do about it? Who'd you become? So I wanted this to be different from all the self-help books, from all the typical triumph over adversity. No, No, this is very, very focused. Even the experienced writers were like, how do I do this? I said, it's okay, I'll help you. And so I wrote opening lines for all of them so that they had a jump, a springboard is what I call it, springboard phrases, so that they could jump into their story and know what their message was from the jump, so to speak.
Mm.
And in my chapter, I covered the apathy that I saw. So apathy is one of the 5 red flags. For watch out. If somebody expresses apathy, you do not want them in a foxhole with you. You don't. They
Yeah.
will do some really bad things. People that don't care are really uncaring, and they can be really dangerous. So I smile, but I've been through a lot because of the apathy that I've seen. And one of the ways it showed up was when I started to tell my neighbors, hi, Matt. When I started to tell my neighbors about at the time, it was 1,900 food processing plants that have mysteriously all burned down, and that they're not coming back. And there were other issues to be aware of. And they looked at me like I was crazy, and they give me wide berth now, like I'm still crazy, but I'm actually like, this is actually really true. You can have your opinion, but these are facts. And I'm all about don't be scared, be prepared, Bunky. And they really didn't want to hear it. It's a threat to people to realize that, there are things going on that are really unpleasant to look at. And that was part of why I wrote the Dumbass book, because the apathy that I was seeing, both on a global scale and locally, was shocking. And I said, we have to have a way to handle these things that are happening. And that's when I developed literally a mindset of whatever I see, almost everything, I can go to myself. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. It's like that, huh? Oh, okay. Okay. Because acceptance is the key to peace, right? I may not like what I see, but if I resist, it persists. So, okay. It's kind of like my little it's not underhanded. It's my underlying mission is to give people those 2 words, because when you look at what's going on and you go, oh, okay. All right, it's like that, huh? You then become like Teflon, and what you see runs past you, and then you can respond and not react. They're very different. And so the book is full of ways to respond differently and give some people the flick and know who not to bring in too close from back here. So that's the Dumbass book, and then the Rattled Awake chapter. So I wove them all together in the Rattled Awake chapter when I realized what was going on with food. My background is into food. I like to eat. I think everybody should. So I really wanted to ring the triangle on that. And for some people, I guess it's a noise. For other people, hopefully it's a welcome message. The book just came out and became a #1 international bestseller. And it has other authors in it with very, very different shook moments over the last 5 years. And what they did about it, who they became as a result, would be inspiring to others. So there you go. Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's to me, that book is about something that's important to me. Do you choose to be a sheep or a shepherd? That's a choice we all have. And then those Rattle Awake moments, they tend to bring out exactly that in people. Where do you want to go? And so it's, I got to get my own shepherd into the.
It really is about taking back authority over our lives, and who are we listening to, and why? Why do they have authority over your decisions? Are you well informed? Maybe they aren't. Make sure, do some research, and figure out who you're listening to, if they really are worthy of having authority over your life. And think global, but act local. Make sure the people that you bring in close are going to have your back in a crisis.
Exactly, and that, like, trying to bring my little shepherd into the picture.
I know, you can see his struggle.
Where do I turn off that stupid background image? I'm not in the church now. I can't figure out where it is. Anybody remember where it is on the Mac?
I don't know how to do the backgrounds.
If you go to the main screen instead of the one with the pictures, and then click the cog up in the top right, and then you'll get the options, and then it's virtual background, and then none.
Once there. There. Choose virtual blur my background instead, or choose virtual. Thanks a lot, Matt.
That's all right. Can I just say what a lovely church? I've seen 3 of them this week. but yours is the most impressive.
Really? Yeah, this is a Norwegian church.
It's very beautiful.
It is. It's the Tefoldighetskirken in Norway, in Oslo. It's really nice, but now I'm gonna turn it off like that.
And this is real home, or it's another.
This is real. This is. Did you see him at a happy birthday yesterday?
No, my birthday is on Monday.
It's on Monday.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a preliminary introduction to the event that's happening on Monday evening. Well, my time, your time, Monday evening, for the birthday bash. So yeah, everybody's welcome.
Yeah. You're working on something called Kudos.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos, giving credit to someone. What's that about?
Quite a lot of things. Kudos is a platform that is a demonstration of a bigger picture, which is called social benefit networks. Social benefit networks is essentially a new way of doing business, which is based on what should be the fundamental old way of doing business, but we don't seem to have done that in any way, shape, or form since we had marketplaces in small villages in the olden days. Because business nowadays is done by big corporations that are only interested in their shareholders benefiting rather than everybody in the process benefiting, which is why social benefit networks is about everybody benefiting. Because even if you look at an economy such as ours in the UK, a lot of the money gets misappropriated, gets lost, or gets printed, and therefore the economic situation in our country, amongst others, is not as good as what it should be. By creating social benefit networks that will enable people to prosper more locally better, both financially, health-based, happiness, whatever you want to interpret that as, that enables people to flourish and to live better lives and to be healthier and to be happier and to be wealthier. And just touching on what I think you're sort of talking about currently, Kudos is one example, and I have a lot of other examples, one of which is a short video voting platform that basically allows us through technology to be able to protect people's identities whilst validating that they are individuals and that they are casting a vote rather than conducting hate speech or expressing a vast opinion on a wealth of topics that could be demonstratable about change that is needed or belief that is held about certain topics or geographical political statements that we fundamentally as individuals do not agree with. But unless there is some way to prove what everybody thinks or give them an option to be able to demonstrate that, there's no actual truth being told. So it's like a safeguarded way of letting people say their opinions. And I'm not saying what their opinion should be. I'm just giving them the platform to be able to express their opinion on a two-sided coin as an outcome to a question. For example, in Australia currently, there's a big drive towards cashless society. What the people in Australia think, because I guarantee that there's no real opportunity for them to simply say, yeah, I'm happy without cash, or no, I'd like to keep cash. This platform, this video voting platform, would enable people to be able to do that, should they so wish. And most of my business and most of my ideas are in fundamental foundation stage. But if anybody's familiar with Kudos, they'll realize that it's growing quite quickly. I have a lot of people who like what I do. Sorry, that's probably confused everybody completely. But
to summarize, on the one hand, you have like getting paid for being on Facebook.
Not
And
quite,
because,
but-
well, yeah, paid in payment comes in various forms.
Mm.
Can come in benefits of various, can come in money, it can come in other ways. And the other one is allowing people to have a saying without exposing their identity, but still validating that they are who they say they are, which would also be quite beneficial to avoid the net trolls that are a plague. We are in I'm campaigning for my political party now, and I see how all people come in and they have like these stupid profiles, you know, with one picture, and then they come with inflammatory statements and blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh, don't you have anything better to do? Yeah, it's great. Thank you very much, Lonnie. Thank you for coming. That's fascinating. So but you are at an early stage now. Do you have anything that you can, is it possible to see how this will work, or do you have any betas in?
Not really. Currently on this particular project, the team is formulating a lot of the background and the philosophical questions that arise from asking big questions as well as small questions, because it's a very difficult situation to prescribe that correctly so that then it is unbiased. And formulating such a platform is not an easy thing to do either. But already I have 6 people who are on that team, some from business, some from education, some from different walks of life, who are looking to help me to basically step that up and make that reality for people. And in the timescale of things, I need to do that quite quickly because we are, and I'm sure you remember some of the talks that I've had with you in groups and things. I very much believe that we are approaching a change format, which is either going to be beneficial for everybody because we can manage to get that change to be so, or that is fundamentally not going to be a change that's going to enable us to do more. Instead, it's going to be restrictive and manipulative to a larger degree than what we already have. So I have quite a tight can't speak today. Quite a tight time scale to fit to. That's not easy after you've had a coffee very quickly.
I also see what you're saying. We are approaching a point of no return.
Yep.
Globally. We are taxing the environment, we're taxing Mother Nature, we are taxing people. 85% of the world's global workforce are disenfranchised, and they're not interested in their job, they're not happy in their jobs.
Yep.
Suicide rates are rising, mental issues, don't call it illness anymore because it's more of the norm than anything else. Yep. Is rising. All the indicators are pointing in a rather sad direction, and we need to make some changes. Truly.
And I'm a big believer in not powerful people making the right decisions, because quite often they don't. However, the will and the voice of people, which is what this platform enables, makes people powerful. The very fundamentals of most of our societies in the world today is based upon democracy. And yet that seems to be the furthest thing, if we're being realistic, in my opinion. Again, that's open to vote at some point, I'm sure. But my opinion is that the democracy is not as it should be.
Yeah, because it's a mock democracy, is what I call it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the keys is, like Ambassador Terry is here. He to go back to some of the values from the indigenous people, to truly see their respect for our world and for other people. I think that when if you can combine that with modern technology, then you have a truly powerful platform to stand on.
Yep.
Because it is necessary. If when you look at the world, it's easy to lose courage and think everything is flawed, but I am 100% sure it's possible to turn this around and make this world a much better place, a place for everybody.
We've been trying to do that for thousands and thousands and thousands, depending on your viewpoint of when the world was created or it came into existence, whatever that might be. I'm not here to debate that, but the simple fact of the matter is that for however long you want to imagine it's been going on, it's been going on. People have been exploiting other people, and generally the people who are doing the exploiting are the people at the top of the tree. And it's time now that in 2023, not 2030, maybe 2024 if I can't manage it this year, but before 2030, you understand what that means. We need to make change, and we need to make that change positive for people. And if we don't, then literally it's going to be another round of several years, maybe decades, before we can have the opportunity again. Because this opportunity does not come around every year or every 4 years, like most of the political systems that we have in place, which seems an absolute travesty that people can't change the world other than once every blue moon.
Yeah, but it is strange, and I do believe a lot of people feel that they lost their power, or they feel that they never had it. And to me, we all do. Everybody can, using the power of social networks, can go out and say, "This is my opinion. This is how I feel," and they can.
I would like to agree with that. There is opportunity currently, but there is legislation already in place in the EU and coming soon in places like the USA, for example, where there are going to be agencies that are basically going to police the social networks and outside of that, people's personal websites for speech that they consider to be wrong compared to what they prescribe as being correct. And whether what they prescribe as being correct has validity, it's only they that decide. Well, that seems like a very biased opinion. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. Only the validation of mass numbers, whether that's in terms of what they're prescribing or in terms of people's viewpoints, that's the only way that that can be judged. It can't be judged by me, certainly. But I don't think that a institution that polices itself is fundamentally the most honest of things, in my humble opinion.
Don't need to be humble about that opinion. I think everyone can understand that. It is definitely, and we see that in the handling of the recent pandemic. It's because it's one thing to say that, okay, this is scientifically sound and this might be a good solution. There's a difference in saying that, but you can't talk about alternatives.
Well, one of the other differences is saying that it's scientifically sound, not based on scientific fact.
Yeah.
that becomes a bit of a problem, really. And then telling everybody, well, if you say that it's not scientific fact, even though we can't prove that it's scientific fact, that's disinformation. So you're not allowed to say that.
Yep. And of course, I never say that on Facebook or whatever, but I because to me, I worked with therapy and working with people for a couple of decades, and I saw, okay, you have your interventions, good. You want to do something, you want to isolate and all that, great, but you gotta give people the opportunity to connect also. if you don't, they will combust. We are social creatures. We need also more than the digital.
Yeah.
So I try telling the Norwegian government and whatnot that, okay, at least open churches, open the temples and mosques, and give people somewhere where they can connect, where they can meet, even when it's lockdown all over. You got to do that, or we will see the repercussions, which will be problems with depression and anxiety and lots of different stuff.
Yeah.
And I hate it when I get to say, I told you so.
Yeah.
I truly
it's borne out
that
in fact. It's borne out in data that's exactly what they did, and that's exactly what has transpired. Like scientifically proving it.
Yeah.
If there is such a thing anymore, but
Yeah, of course I can't say that. Just it's a strange world.
well, even so I don't know if you saw the post. I reposted somebody's post about the fact that this environment that we're in now, this very platform, this is also now being monitored to some degree, and they reserve the right to take anything that gets said in these places and do whatever they want with it, because that's now in the terms and conditions for Zoom, for example.
I noticed the first time I saw that I made a comment on a post on LinkedIn, and I got this AI message saying that posts using terms like this has previously been complained against, or so do you want to edit your comment? Or, and I was like, no, I don't want to edit my comment.
Would you mind some reprogramming so that they can word that correctly? By the way, if I suddenly disappear out of the Zoom room, you know who it is. It's not me.
well, I think Zoom is pretty. I haven't seen them try to quell any dissidents, but it would be interesting. Great. Fascinating. We also have Thomas here. I'd like to have a few words with him. He's been there quite some time.
Thank you, Roland. I was not able to catch the conversation from the very beginning, but I've been listening. It is that interesting, kind of a sharing of journeys in life and some experiences of what we are doing, and I really like it. I'm not very different from you. I am a man who has been going through many passages, a number of passages in life, and of course, there are good moments and some tough moments, but I have been strong throughout. I'm based in Tanzania. Tanzania is a country in East Africa. It's a developing country. It's a middle economy country, low middle economy country. And I work as a headmaster with school, and also the founder of a non-governmental organization called the Savannah Vision Tanzania. More specifically, my work has evolved in helping communities, especially as a marginalized segment of Tanzanian community, on areas of access to quality education, ways to improve their livelihood, like access to clean water, water for livestock, and infrastructure. My specialization is a teacher, but I am also an expert in natural resources and the environment. So, yeah, that's me. And yeah, my current status is in education and community development.
Personally, you say that Tanzania is a developing country. You know,
Yes.
that brings to mind it's developing in what way? Because to me, when I look to the continent of Africa, I see a continent filled with culture, with music, with a lot of things, with the joy de vivre, the joy of life that us Westerners tend to forget. We are like, oh, we got to get the job, get the money, get the girl, get the house, get the car, all of that. And I think to be quite honest, I think we just as much we are developing when it comes to taking back our power and our joy and to get out of this stupid rat race. I think that is something that we can truly learn from Tanzania, Nigeria, and all the other countries. We are just, we have gone inside. We have forgotten our root values, and yeah. So I am not a very big fan of the developing label, to be honest.
That is international leveling of countries.
I know, but I don't like it because it says that we are like here and you are like there, and to me,
Yeah.
what are the developing countries striving towards? I mean, of course, everybody understands we need, like you represent, quality education, and everybody needs the opportunity to learn. It's always beneficial to learn, but what do you need to learn?
Yeah, of course, Tanzania is quite a beautiful country, I can say, with lovely people. We still have our culture. We have large part of the country which is still natural, not destroyed by civilization. So it's really good place, and we are happy living with our culture, and also interacting and sharing with each other. But yes, education, as you said, is important, of course. It's important because it makes us being well informed about our environment and ourselves, and know how to live well with nature. So, but it's also important because it helps us to solve the problems we face within our environment, to improve our living standards, while at the same time improving the quality of our natural environment and maintaining our good culture.
Yeah.
If I could, so one of the other things that Kudos is bringing along at the moment is an educational arm with a view to literacy across all age groups, starting from very small through to senior adults, really. And across all different areas, really, not just literacy in the sense of can you read this book, but literacy about money, and literacy about the environment, and literacy about science and our rights, and human beliefs and philosophy, and all sorts of interesting things that potentially people don't realistically learn in school. I certainly didn't learn about many of those things, or learn the skills that actually help me to live my life on a day-to-day basis now. They weren't taught to us in school. And to my best of my knowledge, hand on heart, from my own experience with the people that I know, they're still not being taught those things. And that fundamentally for me seems a very strange setup, that we're educating people about stuff that really isn't that beneficial to them. And in some ways, it's another broken system where it's a conveyor belt of people being cookie cutted. I can't speak today. I'm apologizing for turning up to your wonderful thing and not being able to speak. But we are basically on this conveyor belt of pushing out people to work in factories, people to work in offices, and people to work in certain careers, except in certain schools where those schools are educated about other areas. And again, those educational facilities tend to be the ones that are more expensive to go to and possibly populated by the more elitist of our societies. Take from that whatever you will, but yeah, that's the way that I see that.
Critical thinking will be a part of the curriculum then.
Of course, we need to critically think about education, which really suits the current demand of people. Yeah, I agree with you that we really need to give a good thinking about the education we are giving to the societies we are living in. Yeah, for example, currently we are working with, I'm working with one group of community. I don't know if you have heard about the Hadsane.
No.
These are hunters and gatherers. They are living the ancient mode of life, still depending on that to a large extent. They forage and hunt some wild animals, and they survive that way. But currently, they are suffering due to problems occurring in the environment. And this is mainly caused by encroachment to their ecosystem by farmers, by pastoralists who bring large number of livestock and graze in the ecosystem, and they are destroying the ecosystem resources by clearing the vegetation, capturing the water for irrigation, again also destroying trees and vegetation that gives them fruits, tubers, roots or nuts they need for their survival, including medicine. And also wild animals, the hunting, and also the government is taking some parts of their ecosystem. So now they are confined in a very small area, which is not much productive to support their livelihood. So I'm just working with them to do some activities which are in line with their traditional activities, but can help them sustain their livelihood. For instance, this year, I started a beekeeping project with them. There are still some areas which are very good for beekeeping. So I'm taking beehives to them, modern beehives. So they are keeping bees. When they get the honey, they eat. It is always part of their diet. But also part of the honey, the excess they sell. When they sell it, they get money to buy food and buy clothes and there's a necessities for the family livelihood. So those are the Hadza.
It's very interesting because you're talking about progress, but progress based on something that already existed, in the sense of from what you said, they already ate honey. It's just developing a way to do that on a slightly bigger scale, but without them decimating the environment that they live in. I'm not a big fan of mass innovation if you're going to call that it, by deforestation or whatever that might be, in the sense of destroying environments that already provide something to the world, maybe not measurable in the sense of pounds, shillings and pence, but certainly measurable in the sense of, let's talk about one of those things that helps us to actually clean our environment other than what the powers that be tell us we need. That thing is fundamentally a tree. World's best thing, trees. I'm very keen on them because they do a number of things. They help to help our environment. They help to clean the air. They help to provide a safe place for the animals to live in. And they do things like provide food. Why on earth are we thinking that in order to clean our environments, we should shut down our cities and make them not accessible to people? And instead of that, why can't we just plant a load of trees in the middle of the cities? Because they all have quite big roads, quite often with some flowery pots of goodness in them that look very pretty. But if they were actually trees, especially berry trees, because berries are quite interestingly healthy fruits for people, that might actually be a lot more beneficial for the environment in those cities, rather than saying we don't need people to exist in the cities. In fact, we don't need people to exist at all. Sorry, I get carried away with myself.
Well, I'm not sure if I agree about not needing people. I think that because that seems to be, some people think that we are not part of the ecosystem. We are, and there are those who are like parasites in the ecosystem, and there are those who are beneficial and helps it. We need less of the parasites and we need more of the benevolent ones, is my understanding. And there are quite a few people who are benevolent, who for instance, farmers who use ecological and natural ways to produce. There are very many examples of this. So though I say that there are probably some people who the world might be a better place without, we kind of need people as well.
Yeah, that it's the whole point of an ecosystem, is that all parts are needed and integral to the thing. Like without any part of it, it will all finish and die very badly.
Totally, I agree with you too. It is very important, and that is our second project, to make the community continue to survive sustainably and friendly within the ecosystem as component of the system. We are also planning to introduce agroecology, where we will promote planting of trees, but trees which can also produce food like fruits or nuts. So those herds will continue to benefit from the ecosystem, and at the same time continue to keep and maintain the ecosystem healthy instead of destroying it, clearing it for farming, growing seasonal crops, especially these so-called seasonal crops. They are very, very destructive to the environment, and also mechanization of agriculture is not very good for the environment, for the ecosystem, and the use of chemicals. So we are also planning that as a second move, to move there and provide them with fruit trees so that they can plant many of them, and then of course they will live from the fruits coming from those trees, and at the same time the ecosystem remain undestroyed. Yeah. And also conserving the water sources, because when we have the vegetation trees growing over there, the water sources will not be destroyed. The soil will not be degraded by erosion and farming crops, which will be harvested more frequently and nutrients taken away. Yeah, so that is our second move. But we are also planning for planting trees, not just within the Hadza area. We're also looking at Lake Eyres. We have not yet started because we are looking for funding to support the project. The Lake Eyres ecosystem is very important. It's sustaining the life forms within the Serengeti Ngorongoro wilderness, including also the Hadza area. So that area contains farmers who are now encroaching even the water sources and destroying the vegetation along the water sources. And the lake is becoming silted. The rate of siltation within the lake is high because vegetation is being removed. So we want to promote, to maintain that wetland by promoting planting of trees and vegetation that will conserve water and those sort of things, and combating erosion.
I like that. Planting trees solves problems.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool.
Yeah, it is. So, it really is. Think of, as you said, Matt, all the beneficial things that trees do with cleaning water, for instance. I mean, it's part of the cycle that really cleans water, and holding the stability of the soil. It's and just simply giving shade to people who needs to relax a bit. That's also a great thing about it. That's and
And one of you been
me-
to Tanzania? Have you been
Oh,
to
pardon?
Tanzania?
No, I haven't.
Have you been
The only country I've been to in Africa is Morocco.
Morocco?
I've
Matt,
been
have you
to
been to
Tunisia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and hopefully in the next few months, I'll be going to Nigeria to meet some friends.
France? Oh, okay. So South Africa, well, it's not very different from Tanzania, but I think
Okay.
Tanzania is it's also a land of contrast with a variety of wildlife and vegetation and coastal areas and the highland and high mountain. The highest mountain in Africa is also in Tanzania.
Yeah.
So we have also the eighth wonder of the world is the Serengeti wilderness, the wildebeest migration. You heard about that?
Yeah.
So especially Arusha, where I live, it's very good for that. And if you get time, it's good to also visit this part of the world and experience nature in Tanzania. It's beautiful.
I went on a couple of probably this is not a good thing to be saying that I've been on, but I've been on a couple of safaris in South Africa and in Zimbabwe because we went near the Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, and wonderful experience because it's just something very different to what is even in a safari park in England, for example, is just entirely alien to how animals actually live. And I very much enjoyed that. And again, the shade of the trees, actually. I went in winter, so it wasn't particularly that hot, but there was a couple of hot days that, yeah, I'm very pale skinned and the sun is not my friend in that sense. So I was heading for the trees any opportunity that I could. And here in England, where it rains most of the time, I'm grateful for trees, not for shade from the sun, but shade from the rain.
Yeah.
Yeah, many parts of Africa are a bit drier and hot because most of it is within the tropics.
Yeah.
And the tropics are hotter than the northern part of the hemisphere where you are. Yeah, but beautiful. Tanzania is not so hot and it's not cold. But some places are cold. Where I work, temperature goes as far as 10 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. So you can see there is a contrast. And sometimes when you are there in winter, you say it is cold. It's just cold. Yeah, so Yeah, so
The
It's
world is a
just-
very wonderful place when you consider that there is so much diversity, and yet everything is all the same. It's all trees, it's all animals, it's all people, it's all atoms and molecules and whatnot. But we all make up such individual and unique experiences and relationships and just being in this room today, the wealth of knowledge and the beauty of your dog is just phenomenal. And that's the joy of life. And like you were saying before, sometimes that is misgiven in the Western world in that sense. And sometimes we depict things like developing countries because what we prescribe as the veritable smorgasbord of goodness that is money, and that's not so important over time in those other areas of the world. And really, is money the true definer of a developed country? Don't think so. I think it's something else entirely, but that's not what we get taught again, is it?
It's definitely not. I think it's very to do me. Of course, I enjoy money because I think it's the power to do good. It is neutral, but the greed for money, the one makes you go and check your bank account every day and how many zeros are behind the first digit.
Most of the zeros are in front of the first digit for me.
Okay, I can relate. Being a monk, that's kind of been my. But it's it's weird what when people like we see people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and those wow, some people think that they are just the best things in sliced bread, and they because they have much money. Oh, there's got to be something special about them. But what does it say about them? It says that they've been good at, well, first copying other people's stuff. Might be something that's quite common with those two, at least, if you know the history. And so what? Should that be a measuring stick of a person's value? How big his bank account is, or her bank account, or are there other values that are more important?
I need to go because I've got another meeting to go to. I on closing your point, they're the best thing since sliced bread. Do you know what poisons our world? The bread.
Sliced bread.
All those other people, but hey, I'm saying that because I'm getting kicked out of Zoom probably. I'm sorry that I can't stay for much longer. I would have loved to, because I'm very much enjoying our conversation, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for coming, Matt. It's a pleasure talking with you.
It's a privilege, and thank you very much for inviting me, because I feel as though it's been lovely. I wasn't expecting this afternoon. Some of the meetings that I go to are not quite so insightful, I think. And insightful in the sense of sight, not insightful as in inciting certain things. Some of their meetings, they're not good. Anyway, pleasure to meet you, gentlemen. Of course, Euland, take care, my friend. I will see you again. Yeah.
It's a pleasure, Matt. Thank you very much.
And if you want to, are you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Yeah. Euland, if you can connect us together, that would be great.
Yes. We can.
I'm going to post this video later on LinkedIn, and I'll tag a few so you can see it there and connect.
I'd love that. Thank you. Again, I will see you again soon. Take care. Yeah.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Yolanda, you have been here for so long, and Probably maybe you wish to have a break now to
Yeah, I
after
gotta
long
go take my dog for a walk. Actually, she's getting kind of anxious to go out. So
Yeah.
yes, it's a pleasure to meet you in this way, Thomas. Thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah. I have seen that you're working as a monk. You're a monk.
Yes.
Where are you based? Sweden or US?
Norway.
Norway. So
Mm.
it's a country for fishing. So it's a cold country.
Oil. Yeah, and it's very
And
cold.
For cattle, for dairy cattle. Yeah, so it's really a pleasure to give me this opportunity to participate in your discussion and sharing. of
You-
my
Can you share your LinkedIn in? I can find you certainly, but if you can share it in the chat, then I can just tag you when I post the video. Can you do that?
Yeah, I think I can find you in LinkedIn, and I can share with you my.
Let me see. I'll give you mine, and you can just.
Yeah.
There you go. Send me a message, and I will.
Thomas Robin. So my name.
It's easier if you just send me a message, and I'll tag you in the post. And it's really good to have a representative from Tanzania. This is quite a multicultural thing, and I like that because, to me, that has always been my point of view, at least, that we are all. It doesn't matter the melanin content of our skin or whatever. What matters is the burning heart and being working for the common good. That is what defines people, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I really like your idea, Johan. The world has become too much greedy, and this world was meant for us all. And all these restrictions being put in countries, preventing free movement of people, require documentation, and all those things, I don't think they are very good for humanity. So long as we are all human beings and we are all brothers and sisters, and we are sharing this world we have with the other beings, I think it's good to have a free idea, a free interaction, the freedom of movement, of interaction, but basing on moral values, moral principles, because this world is not for ourselves alone. We are sharing, we human also share with other beings which are in this world. And they are all good for all of us to exist. So we need to take care to be a good custodian. So
We do. And the UN Declaration, they actually state that is part of being a human, is the right to travel. But then we put all these borders and, as you say, regulations and whatnot and to restrict travel. And we have so much to learn from each other. That is truly learning from community and from our individuality and our uniqueness and our commonality. I think that is really, really important.
of course. Okay, I will share my profile with Yolanda, and thank you so much. And is it evening now? It's almost evening.
It's 4:30 evening.
Past 4.
Yes.
Yes, this is now 5:38 p.m. We are almost about a close time zone. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful evening. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Me too. Thank you so much, Roland. Blessings.